Welcome, friends, to Let's Play Rule the Waves 3 as Germany starting in 1935. It's episode 108, and where the hell have I been? Well, turns out retiring requires an enormous life laundry. Physical, digital, very satisfying, but takes a fair old time to, dust off the shelves and empty the things that I'm never going to use ever again. I've also been planning a holiday to Canada. It would have been Florida, but, for obvious reasons, that's not a desirable location. So, Canada, here I come next Tuesday. Really looking forward to it. And that takes planning. Normally my holidays are like lying on a beach and the planning is, where should we eat tonight? Or what cocktail should I have now? But so properly touring around Toronto and Ontario. And then the other thing I've been doing is I've been helping to rewrite a set of rules to do some little clarifications, do some add-ons, and in particular I took one area of the rules that has generated lots of questions on Discord and Facebook and Consim World, whoever uses that still, and Board Game Geek, and try and improve it. Wow! I'd never appreciate. I'm a good explainer. That's my shtick. But I'd never appreciated quite the Byzantine cross-referencing complexity of all of that. But again, very satisfying. So yeah, I've had a satisfying time, but away from the games I love. So here we are again, and it's peace. The war has ended. The Royal Navy is functionally destroyed, aside from some remnants. And we have gained new bases in the New World, in Canada, in Bermuda, in the Caribbean. So we need to do some classic post-war shaping, known as saving money, unfortunately, and also planning out what we're going to do about it. And in the last 9 years of this game, I would like, unless we get superseded by the launch of the upcoming DLC, which was promised in the summer, but having worked with software people for a long time, I know how these things slip. And so, yeah, obviously there's some easy savings to be made. How much saving? Well, actually, let me just quickly bring up the game and zoom in. And yeah, we're minus 22,500 with funds of 33,000. So obviously that's not very sustainable. So we definitely need to do something about that. So let's pop that away again. So yeah, easy savings. The repairs, there's lots of repairs at the moment from that huge battle. They're going to be finished. The air squadrons, if you reduce them down from their current size to sort of 4 or something like that, you retain the pilot quality, but you save a lot of money. There are some intelligence savings. I don't really have to worry about the British anymore, although I probably should start pushing up my intelligence against the Americans. And there are some easy spends. So we absolutely need some docks in the US East Coast. We definitely need some air bases as well. First priority. Second priority in the Caribbean. Arguably, we should put some coastal defenses on as well, particularly at ones where we think that we can't really hold it and the Americans might invade. Resume construction. So we've got a lot of stuff that we had to halt, and I would like 3 more guided missile submarines to replace the 3 that I lost, because they were super useful. Well done, guided missile submarines. Very impressive. Harder savings to make. Well, do I put the beloved battle cruisers into mothballs? Do I keep them in reserve? I mean, ideally, obviously, I want to keep everything active because crew quality is such a central metric. And we saw in things like the damage control to the battle cruisers that totally got on top of missile and torpedo hits and brought the ships back into fighting trim when I thought, oof, that's them at least return to base, if not, at risk of sinking. And ditto for the heavy and the light cruisers. The corvettes probably need to go into reserve. I have the 4 old carriers who've been a stalwart since the 1930s, the ones with sort of 44 planes each. Pop them into reserve, perhaps. It's also probably important to think about making up losses. So here were my losses: 3 guided missile submarines, 6 ordinary submarines, 3 coastal. So these 9, I can take a view about replacing them. If I just replace the guided missiles one, I'll easily have the strongest. Let me just go in there and bring up the almanac. And you can see I've got 45 submarines. Everyone else is down, aside from the Chinese, oddly enough. And then I lost 3 modern big destroyers, 2 medium-aged, middle-aged destroyers, and 3 old destroyers. So they'll need replacing, although some of that is covered by the under construction already, but definitely need some more around that. So that's all the obvious stuff. Whether that will be enough, we will see. And then I've been thinking about, well, where next? I mean, thinking might be a bit of a strong word. I'm probably going to just go with musing. I would like to have this kind of construction plan. So this is just partial at the moment. So over here, we've got heavy cruisers and destroyers that need finishing off. We're in halfway through, more than halfway through 61. So several of these will be done by the end of the year, and then into 62. And then get some SSGs. Not sure why I put 2 here. I probably need to put 3. But anyhow, I need to look at the bases in Nova Scotia, Bermuda, New Providence in the Bahamas, also expanding air bases, and then probably look to increasing them again so that my East Coast basing is sufficient to put a fleet on it. There is also the question about Caribbean basing, but I am less concerned about that. And as I've discussed, there may be some coastal defense things here if I think some of them are prone to invasion. My Europa class carriers, there were 3 biggies that have been the absolute stalwarts of the fleet. They just need a little bit of a modernization now that light SAMs are a thing. But they're relatively small, relatively easy. 1.5, bring down some of the gun armament and replace it with light SAMs. I would love to build a new fleet carrier to take my big fleet carriers up to 4. They cost 5.2, so 5,200. This is a month. I calculated everything on a monthly basis because that's the revenue I have to play with. This takes a long time, 3.5 years now, which means if I'm going to fight the Americans by the end of the game before 1970, I might think of building a couple, if not more, of light fleet carriers. I'm never a huge fan of light fleet carriers. Cost per plane per deck is higher than building a proper fleet CV. I mean, these light fleet carriers can have, I can't remember now, 32, 34, something like that, 30-ish planes. The fleet carrier, I mean, my Europas have 128 planes. Crikey. But they're finished in 2 years rather than 3.5 years. So that's a big, big plus. There's certainly something to think about. So as you can see, I'm still very much in a kind of sort of phase with all of this. What might that CV look like? So I have the choice. A simple choice is just to build another Europa. They've been great. Obviously slightly modernized with light SAMs and so on, but otherwise keeping that huge 128 aircraft capacity. Huge. And, cap and strike. I mean, that's what it's all about fundamentally. So that's a big plus. However, as an alternative, I did have a look what the auto designer is offering me. And here is a candidate, De Flinger, 67,000 tons, so slightly bigger than my Europas, only 78 aircraft. So that's a full 50 aeroplanes less. Okay, that's a big less. That's more than the CVL less. But what you get is you get 3.5 inches of flight deck armor and 4 inches of hangar side and 2 inches of deck armor. So, possibly. I mean, I'm minded not to, but as ever, I would love to hear your opinion. The merits of an unprotected Europa with a huge air complement or a protected one with enhanced survivability. Now, obviously in the Europas, the survivability is all about having a great cap and striking them before they strike you. Thoughts, please. And in similar vein, yeah, and as you can see, this is 5,439. I haven't done a straightforward Europa. Actually, let me just check. So I'm just bringing up the open dialogue, and Europa is a 1951, so it's a 10-year-old design. So quite old. So yeah, I would get rid of these 3-inch guns, and I'd put some SAMs on, and all of that kind of stuff. But I notice that it costs only, let me just zoom in for you. It costs just under 4,000 rather than the new protected design coming in at 5,500. So it's a lot cheaper. I mean, let me just clear the turrets, clear the fire control, clear the AA directors completely, and add. Now you can only add a couple of light SAMs before it goes, yeah, you've run out of stuff. So let me put them there. So yeah, so that's still 4,000. We've actually got 3,000 tons remaining, which I'm not sure how I could use. I mean, I suppose notionally I could put even more airplanes on it, which would be funny, but 128 sounds enough. So I could possibly, if I go back to guns, maybe put some 3-inch guns on just as a secondary air defense thing, or just save the weight and save the money. So again, let me know your thoughts. Modernized Europa or protected CV? Right, let's just pop that out the way for the moment. In the same vein, I've been thinking about, well, what would it be like to build a battleship? Here's Friedrich the Gross. And yeah, I mean, who wouldn't love 8 forward-firing 17-inch guns, some 3-inch AAs, some mediums and stuff like that. So pretty good gun, high AA. I know it's less effective than other things. 14 inches of belts, 15 on the turrets, 7 on the turret top, 6 on the deck. So, you know, pretty hard nut. And then 4, 8, 12, 16 large, heavy surface missiles with another 16 reloads as well as 4 light SAMs. And I've still got some weight remaining, so I probably would increase the light SAMs up to whatever it is, 35, something like that, however many the magazines can hold. So yeah, that's a possibility, except 40 months to build. So 3 and a bit years, and 6,700, well, let's call it 6,800. I mean, that's a big old fat chunk out of construction. So, I mean, God, if money was no object, of course, I would build this or something similar, have a little play. But yeah. So, probably outside the budget. You know, tempting. I'm not going to lie. Very tempting. So, if I'm going to have a pop at the US Navy, which I think is the only fitting opponent left to me, because let's be honest, if I can defeat the Royal Navy, I can defeat anybody except for the US Navy. Now, here is a little sort of chart of force comparison. So the US Navy is fundamentally, basically, 3 times the size of my German Navy. 3 times the size. There are 40 capital ships, so 28 carriers, 18 fleet and 10 light, and 12 fast battleships, or battle cruisers. And then 239 escorts, cruisers and destroyers, 65 cruisers, 65 cruisers, and 174 destroyers. 4 of them are helicopter cruisers. Nice. Wish I could build one. Bit of a luxury. Don't know how it fits within the fleet. Otherwise, yes, of course I'd love to build one. 18 heavy cruisers and 43 light cruisers. So, on the face of it, prima facie, insane to go up against the US Navy. Surely they would just wipe the floor with me. But there is one huge thing that is worth mentioning, which is the US Navy has been tardy in modernization. So, out of these 12 fast battleships, only 5 of them have missiles. Out of these 65 cruisers, only 18 have missiles. And out of these 174 destroyers, only 77 of them have missiles. Now, if we think of missile fleet against missile fleet, well, they've got 5, I've got 4. They've got 18, I've got 23. They've got 77, I've got less than that. I can't remember, about 45 or something like that, but mine are much more heavily armed. A lot of theirs only have like a couple of surface missiles. So missile fleet against missile fleet, I'm marginally superior, with the exception around the carriers. Now, I haven't really done the carriers. I presume they're all jet. So let's just have a quick look at the planes, because obviously the carriers don't matter as much as the actual planes. Okay, so my fabulous new in-service Arado, maximum speed 873 miles an hour, against the US Lockheed's Thunder Screech. Could it be a more American name? Which is 620. So markedly superior. Equivalent, obviously, to my previous generation. So I've got a new generation. Now, obviously, I'm not going to have war with America towards the end of the 1960s. So by that time, it will have caught up. But they, I think it's indicative. If you have a look at jet attacks. So I've got my also Arado absolutely smashing it, coming in at 637, and the North American Avenger at 560. So yeah, I've at the moment got a generational lead over American aircraft. Yes, the American Navy is a lot bigger, but it's not as modern. Let's, have a quick look down. So you've got the New Jersey and the Illinois, 8, 16, 12, 16. Great for 16-inch guns. Oh, one 14-inch with the Congress, and a 17-inch in the Franklin and the Lake Champlain, and the United States, which is all lovely. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are modernized, and then they've got one building, so a 5th one modernized. But yeah, the rest, fine and everything, but yeah, otherwise not. Obviously, these speeds potentially a bit dodgy, particularly for these ones that were built in the 1930s and 40s. Mine are getting a bit slow. They're like 27 knots. Obviously, I could re-engine them with lovely new gas turbines, but that would be expensive. But something to watch. And then if we look at all of these heavy cruisers, they're all 8-inch gun heavy cruisers until we get down to the bottom where 4 and 2 and 2 and 4, 4, 4 heavy ship missiles, couple of hellos. So yeah, interesting. These say 2 aircraft, 1 helo. I wonder if they're actually helicopters. Probably. And if we look at the carriers, so these fleet carriers, a lot of them are medium-sized. So the Enterprise and Hornet 46s, so equivalent to my old carriers. I mean, there are these nice Shangri-Las with 92 aircraft, all done in the mid-50s. And then there's this set of Hawaii-class carriers that is under construction, so which are bigger. So they probably have about 100 aircraft. Assuming they have that kind of aircraft, I'm suspecting they are unprotected. I don't think you get that kind of level of aircraft and have deck armor and flight deck armor and hangar armor and all of that stuff. The CVLs are mainly pretty useful, a couple of 15 aircraft, but the rest are 28s, 29, 27, couple more building. So, you know, they certainly can platform a fair few aeroplanes. 100 carrier airplanes at the moment, and then assuming each one of these is 100, you know, there's another 500, so call it 1,700. Yeah, they might retire some of these oldest carriers in the meantime, but yeah, a lot. So, I mean, that is the clear and present danger, really, with the American fleet. They might start a wider modernization program, or they might just, you know, get rid of quite a lot of those old gunships and build some new stuff. So this is leaving me at the moment with this kind of, what should my fleet look like? And I'm not going to rush into it. But yeah, I could reserve or mothball the battle cruisers. I could reserve 4 of the older carriers. I could reserve a pile of the older cruisers, some of the older destroyers, and all of the trade protection stuff. And yeah, we'll just see whether that's really necessary or not. Right, let's bring up the game, zoom in, and make some of those adjustments. And as you can see, you know, here, lots of ships under repair from that big, wonderful battle. So obviously that's going to bring down the costs. Lots of ships still under construction. I'm tempted to put them all on halt. Let's all resume, and then let's all halt them. That takes us to 31. If I all halt them, okay, that takes us to 15. Okay, so that's interesting. So actually, that's what we've got to lose to just get 0, and then we need another 15 to resume the actual construction. We need 6,000 tons. I think that's fairly straightforward. If we have a look at the area, okay, so we're overrepresented in the Mediterranean, and we need 6,000 in the American East Coast. So that's going to be pretty simple. I've just taken the Hamburg here. I've put it on foreign station, and I've asked it to move to the American East Coast. I know foreign station sometimes has a mind of its own, but there you go. Thinking about intelligence, well, let's have a little look at the relations. So the United States isn't allied with anybody. Splendid isolation as usual. 3 tensions with Germany, so that's quite a lot to rack up. 4 with the Soviet Union. Doesn't mind Britain, doesn't mind France, or even Italy. I'm still allied with the Japanese. There are 2 against the Japanese. My unrest level is 1. So considering it had been up at 6, There's nothing like a good old-fashioned victory to cheer people up. Plus, of course, the end of the blockade and defense spending having declined and stuff like that. I mean, it's possible we can get it down to 0, which would be lovely. Okay, so I'm taking off the Soviet Union. I'm really not interested in fighting the Soviet Union. I am going to push it up to medium. I'm going to push it up to high with America. Let's do that. That's the aim. Those are the people we are seeking to annoy. So we're down to 15,000. I'm just going to tackle the air groups and save a bit of money on that and see where we're up to. Okay, aside from the special squadrons, who I think are a law unto themselves, I've taken down the squadron size of everything, or almost everything, down to 4. 4 is the magic number. You can't take it down to 3. So there we go. And that's brought our minus from -15 to -4,000. So that's a good old chunk without having to do anything else. I'm minded to leave it at that for this month because I'm pretty sure the repairs are considerably more than 4,000. So just with that, we might be able to get into a good place. I mean, I suppose put all of these ones into reserve. I mean, the saving isn't huge, but, you know, it all helps. It is when there's 47. Yeah. So that is a relatively big help. And that's all the trade protection stuff. The rest are all fleet destroyers of various sorts. So I'm just going to press the turn button and see what the news is. And we have a fire control breakthrough, improves hit rate of surface-to-surface missiles and SAMs. Well, I thought the surface-to-surface missiles were doing a pretty good job. SAMs, on the other hand, didn't fare terribly well, although whether that was because they didn't really get many targets because the cap was so effective, but they didn't blow my mind in how effective, so hooray for a nice fire control breakthrough. Okay, so that's a good one to have. And our new jet attack is ready and is even faster than expected. Great. And here is our statistics for the war. Enemy aircraft shot down 134, 75% by fighters, 22% by SAMs. Maybe I've been a bit harsh on the SAMs, and then heavy and medium AA 1%, and other aircraft, presumably jet attacks, 1%. I wonder if they do statistics for the missiles. Probably not, because obviously that's absolutely key now. Here we go. Not much news. Some scrappings, re-equipping of our heavy jet fighters because we've rebalanced all of that. And yeah, all fine. All fine. And monthly balance down to -296. So all we need is a little bit of increase in pensions or the biannual increase in budget, and of course some of these expensive refits to finish, and we'll be done. Okay, so a couple of obsoletes for yeah, that probably need to be corrected. Definitely. In fact, all 4 of them will need some modernization. When was the last? All right, so 51s and 50. So yeah, the modernizations are overdue. So that's more expense. And obviously, we've halted construction on all of these. Let's just turn it around and let's get these ones that are only a month away. Let's just get them built. Takes us to 7,000, but that should be fine. And that feels like enough. Let me know what you think about new carrier designs. Let me know what you think about that dream fast battleship / battlecruiser that I may or may not have. Let me know what you think about poking the US Navy and yeah, getting my... Ooh, one thing I didn't do, which I probably need to do next turn, is get the old bases here. In fact, let's just start that. Yeah, it's expensive. So there and there, definitely. And New Providence, and yeah, so New Providence probably less of a concern, but yeah, definitely need these bases beefing up so that I can accept a fleet, because if I look at the area view now in the American East Coast, my base capacity is 100. Never quite know what that means. The first value is, all right, 100 and 100, yeah. And base capacity itself, no, doesn't explain. So, and we're obviously not going to get an ally. Well, I suppose the British could turn around and become an ally of us. Who knows? Politics is a fickle thing. But yeah, definitely get that underway too. Thanks very much for watching. I probably won't get another episode out before I go on holiday. So it's going to be something like the 8th of September or something by the time I'm back and in this time zone. So I will look forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.